friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time, and I'm here for part 13 in my Preparedness Testimony series. So keep in mind, I'll be linking to that full playlist in the description box down below. And what these are stories, testimonies, and even just some tips sent to me from my followers. Most of them are going to be about how they got in a better position preparedness-wise without having to spend much money, or even how being more prepared got them through some difficult situations. So if you would like to submit your own story for a future video, please send that to raincountryhomestead@gmail.com with the title Preparedness Testimony, and I will be able to read that in a future video. I can always use more of these. Now this first one's a little different, just sharing some of the things she's done plus some pictures, and it's pretty short, but I thought it was fun because she did send some pictures, so I'll be including them as I read this. Hello from Michigan. I've been canning and dehydrating for years, but since all this crazy world stuff has been going on, I've really stepped it up. It's been an amazing harvest from the garden and orchard and foraging. Thanks bunches for your inspiration and videos. There is always something we can all learn. I've dehydrated herbs, weeds, jalapeno peppers, onion, melons, and apples. Canned tomatoes in many types of sauces and paste. We still have more organizing to do. My husband has a sawmill and has built us 4 shelf units for our goods. I also store flour, sugar, Redmond sea salt, syrups, oils, glassed eggs, and lime, and much more. So that's her quick little testimony, just as some of the stuff that she's done. So let's move on to the next one. I never considered myself a prepper early in my adult life. I was the oldest child growing up, and prior to my parents' divorce, often had no food in the house. We would routinely show up at people's homes at meal times. I tell you this to help you understand why I have always been focused on having food in my home. I promised myself that I would never have to tell my children that we had nothing to eat. In 1999, my husband had 2 heart attacks followed by a bypass surgery. He was unable to work for 6 months. That's a long time. I was not able to get a job. I was a stay-at-home mom. Because my eldest son had just had surgery on both his legs and was unable to take care of himself. My youngest son ended up needing his gallbladder removed a few weeks later. My goodness. To say life was stressful is an understatement. Oh, I can only imagine. Thankfully, we did have an income source that covered our rent and utilities. We were able to eat the entire time because of my need to keep food stocked up. Excellent. My husband always had a garden. I canned food and used coupons. Though we didn't have some of the foods that we wanted, we ate. After this, I started canning meats and soups. In more recent years, I have also started to learn about foraging, dehydration, and herbal remedies. I am now working on learning to garden as my husband has passed away. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. That's got to be tough. In the event that I would ever need to rely more on my stocks and skills, I feel confident that I would have a fighting chance. I should note that I have an extensive library and several other skills. I am also blessed to have children who are very knowledgeable and like-minded. Oh, that is wonderful. Though they, my children, have never gone without, they were well aware of why they haven't. My youngest son and his family live with me. We split all the expenses and work together on preparedness. Very good. My number 2 and number 3 sons hunt and preserve food along with many other skills. Sadly, my oldest son is disabled and lives out of state. I worry about him. I apologize for the lengthy post, but I feel it is important to share not only where I am, but also how I came to be here. I would like to add that my grandchildren are also being taught this life style and skills as well. No, don't apologize. This is perfect. This is exactly why we are reading these stories, is people need to understand not just other people's situations and why they're doing that, but to understand that they could just as easily be thrown into that, no matter how good they've got it right now. You just never know. My mom had a good paying job, and several years after my parents got divorced, it was just me and mom. Mom ended up having to quit that job because she had to make a moral choice. But after she quit that job, she had a very difficult time getting a good job because she was actually overqualified for everything that she applied for. So we went through some really hard times. We didn't have a lot of food in the pantry. We survived mostly off top ramen and Bisquick. It was hard. But thankfully, we had people that stepped in and donated food, and my dad would help as much as he was able. But it was tough, and I got tired of ramen, and I got tired of Bisquick pancakes, but it was because of times like that I learned to be more resourceful. In fact, even I was 14 at the time, and I learned how to be resourceful with just a packet of top ramen and whatever I could find in the refrigerator to make a more interesting meal out of it while mom was out job hunting. So you learn because of that. Remember, necessity is the mother of invention, and sometimes it's being thrown into hard times that forces us to really reconsider. But if we can be ahead of the game and just be prepared in case something like that happens, it's going to make it a little bit easier. But sometimes it's the hard lessons are the ones that teach us the most. All right, moving on. Now, I believe I have photos to go with this one too. When I was a teenager, we had a snowstorm and lost electricity. Everything in the house ran on electric. We were out 3 days. We had no water, no heat, no lights. My dad was from a farming background and wasted no time after this storm installing a wood stove and oil lamps. When we built our house 20 years ago, I insisted on propane for heat, cooking, hot water, and for the dryer. We generally hang our laundry out. We got a generator that was supposed to run some basic lights, the freezer, the blower for the heater, and the well pump. We did not test the well pump on it because everything else worked fine. So when we had an early winter storm that took down trees and lost electricity, we hooked up the generator and it did not run the pump. Fortunately, we could melt snow for the horses' water, but could not flush, take showers, or wash dishes. We were able to get water from stores as the outage was localized and were able to shower at family members' homes. It was a week before we had electricity restored. We got a large generator right after that storm. It worked well when Hurricane Sandy hit, and we were again without electricity for a full week. Yikes. I also have gotten several solar generators to run small appliances when we cycle off the generator. We purchased a small camper, not just for camping, but also as backup plan in case we had to leave the house for any reason. In February, a tree fell on our home. The camper was parked in front of our deck on the front of the house. It deflected the tree and the deck, which was overbuilt with extra 2x10s to strengthen it. It took the brunt of the tree's velocity. The tree hit the roof and part of it struck the window right next to my husband's head. Oh my goodness. We were in bed when this happened. Had the camper, which was totaled, not been there and the deck had not been built well as it was, the tree would have come through the roof and landed on my husband. How scary. Even the glass from the window did not strike him. It all went forward and none went to the side. No one was injured. It had stopped raining, so we did not need to try to cover anything until morning. Our amazing neighbors who own a roofing company buttoned the house up for us the next morning. That's wonderful. We contacted a company that specializes in storm damage, and they worked closely with our insurance. The roof, deck, siding, 2 windows, flooring, and the bedroom and living room had to be replaced. The ceilings in the 2 rooms needed to be repaired. Here's my testimony. Do not assume that something will work. Make sure you properly test it. Your plans and God's plans may be different. Our plan had us using the camper for emergency housing. God's plan used it to save my husband's life. God is good all the time. That is actually a pretty amazing story. I appreciate you sharing that. I do want to go back to the water thing, and that before I even got more serious into being more prepared, we've always had a wood stove of some kind. And for most of the years that we've been married, we've had some kind of freestanding wood stove that I could heat water on. We get power outages frequently here, like I'm always saying. And I remember one year in particular, my boys were young, and it's like, man, the power was going to be out for days. And it was out for days. I just don't remember how many days. And what we did to clean ourselves up was I just put the biggest pot that I had full of water on that wood stove and heated it through until it was hot. And then I put it in the tub and added enough cold water. We couldn't really shower easily, but we had enough water that we could get ourselves cleaned up with, and the boys could clean themselves up with, and just pour water with. Always have a cup in there, and just pour water over yourself. And if you've got water, that is one way you can clean yourselves up. And then flushing the toilets, if you have water, is just a matter of filling a bucket with the water and then pouring it into the toilet bowl. And typically that should work to help flush the toilet. All right, so that's my preparedness testimonies for this video. Remember to check out the full playlist if you'd like to hear more of these, or to send your own testimony to raincountryhomestead@gmail.com with the title Preparedness Testimonies, so I can read that in a future video. And thanks for watching. Take care, and God bless.